Hello everybody, today one special topic which we are going to talk about, and this is to dismantle the myth or to slay the myth of that tea bags are cheaper than loose leaf tea. Today I'm gonna go through the comparison of a Japanese green tea which is called the Bancha together with green tea leaves or tea bag I bought actually in the store, and so I want to see in comparison how these two are actually in comparison to each other in terms of price. So when we have a look at the Bancha, so this is the Bancha of Mr. Masuda. Bancha 200 grams, $18 including shipping. So here we have a per gram cost of actually 9 cents. On the other hand, we have a tea bag. Tea bag, this one here, quite a famous brand which is sold in the supermarket in Switzerland for around $3.15, which is around 13 cents per tea bag. So if we compare these two already, we see, okay, as we are using for the loose leaf tea 3 grams of tea, the loose leaf tea costs actually 27 cents, while the tea bag costs half of it. But when we go into the tea and brewing tea, one of the things you might already know when you have been following us for a certain amount of time is that actually loose leaf tea, especially higher quality loose leaf tea, can be infused several times. So what I want to do today is actually to be fair and say, okay, I can infuse the 3 times the loose leaf tea, so I want to really compare the third brewing of this tea to the first brewing of the tea bag, and then really compare how the taste is like. But first already, what I want to do is to compare the tea of the tea bag to the normal tea. So when we just put it out of the tea bag, voila, and then we just have a look at the leaves in comparison. So I brought here a second plate and we really put them next to each other. What you already can see, so here we have, I guess, normally it's between 1.5 or just 2 grams of tea in a tea bag. I would say it's around 2 grams. So we have here 1.5, 2 grams of tea versus the 3 grams of the Bancha. So we already see that in terms of quality of the tea, that the tea, kind of the tea bag tea, is quite lower in terms of the size of the leaves. So much more essential oils still available, certainly in the Bancha. Meanwhile here the chopped up and nearly dusty leaves, they kind of get much less intensity or concentration of essential oils. Definitely here we have some more, we have some stems, we have leaf parts, darker leaf parts, very beautiful, while here it's more a little bit brighter and kind of also a little bit more brownish in terms of tea leaves. So I already think in terms of the visual aspect of the tea, the Bancha is already more beautiful. But we are talking here about taste. So we're gonna go directly into the taste, and we're gonna brew at 70 degrees Celsius. So around 165 Fahrenheit, we're gonna brew this tea here. So I just put this aside. Then we're gonna take this here, and we are using this 3 grams of Bancha and we're gonna fill it up and leave it for more or less a minute to brew. And here, what do they say? Instruction is 3 to 5 minutes, so we leave it in a little bit longer. So already, as I could smell it already with the nose, so what you can see is that it is green tea from a Rainforest Alliance certified. This is already pretty good, but you also got natural flavorings in the tea, so this means that this tea has been flavored, or flavors have been added to the tea. This often I realized also with teabag tea is that you actually have the teabag tea which is enhanced with natural flavorings to give it a more of a refreshing green tea flavor profile, because the leaves which are actually used in the teabag are not strong enough to have this strong and fine taste of green tea, so they have to add natural flavorings to the tea. Good. 3 minutes they said, so I'm just gonna take the first brewing of the Bancha. So this is number 1. So number 1 brewing, number 1 of the Bancha. We do the second one. So here only 20 seconds with the second brewing, as always shorter brewing the second one, because the first one really unfolds the leaf. Then the second and third you can just use the leaves directly. So just put this one next to the other, pour this in. This is number 2. And let's go to number 3. Good. Just wait a little bit more. And then here, maybe in the meantime, I can free this one here. So they say that it's kind of a special way. They said, I think you can just take it. Yeah, exactly. So this is pretty nice, actually, what I like. You can just take out here, push out the water easier with this one here. Okay, good. So okay, let's have a look. This Bancha also is ready in the brewing number 3, which is the one which we will compare. Good. Okay. So we are done with the brewing. So we can see we have 3 different brewings here. I used a little bit less water. So all the 3 brewings, you see the first one is a little bit stronger in color, but the second one still very close to this one, and these 2, they are quite similar. Meanwhile, the tea from Teabags seems to be very strong and a beautiful golden color. Here we are a little bit more in the bright golden, and a more little bit of a greenish, slight more greener touch already seen in the leaves. But I don't want to take the first brewing of the Bancha, I don't want to take the second brewing of the Bancha, but let's really compare the third one. Let's have a fair comparison between these 2 teas. Now let's go for the first one. So this one here is the green tea from the supermarket. So in the nose, it's actually a little bit, yeah, it's nearly a little bit soapy. So the flavorings, you definitely can smell it. It's a pure green tea, so I didn't take a jasmine. I especially looked out for a green tea, like a classic green tea. So let's have a sip of this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's not too like a too broad flavor profile of this tea. In the beginning, it's quite refreshing, but it's like more kind of a I don't know, a little bit of a fisherman's effect, which I have where I take it in my mouth. It feels like kind of fresh, but there's no real taste coming behind it. Yeah, there's a little bit of an earthy flavor now. A little bit of an earthy, slight lemony flavor. I have a slight, like a little bit earthy, wooden flavor in this tea. And a little bit of this soapy, flowery flavor. I think this is mainly coming from the additives, from the natural flavors which have been added to this tea. So it's not a bad tea, quite okay. It's refreshing. It has been in this bag for 3 minutes in the water, so I would say quite okay. Nothing special to say, but it's not definitely not a bad tea. So taste is quite nice. It's refreshing. It's a little bit this flowery taste and a little bit this earthy notes coming from the tea. So this is number 1. Now let's go to the Bancha. So this is number 3, or steeping number 3. So there's quite a big difference already when I taste the tea, when I have it in my mouth. It already develops, and this is nice about Bancha. Bancha is a little bit the thicker leaf, so it's quite of an everyday tea. So that's why I also took Bancha for this comparison, because I think it's fair on it's quite of a lower scale on the Japanese scale. Also in pricing, it can match pretty much. So here we are now at 9 cents a cup, here at 12 or 13 cents a cup. So here are we already a little bit cheaper. So I should have maybe taken the second one. But what you have is directly this earthy flavor developing. It seems to have much more of a body. The water seems a little bit denser. Here we really have you have a little bit of soapy, sweet flavor. Yeah, it's really soapy for me. It's not very flower. It's a little bit of giving this hint of flowers, but and then you got a little bit of this wooden flavor coming out. So I would say around 2 taste profiles coming out of the tea. Let's go in here. Yeah, it's much denser. It's already, when I have it in my mouth, the flavor of the tea develops so much more in my palate already, and now I have even an aftertaste slowly developing. It's also quite wooden, so it's a little bit less, so I don't have this soapy aspect or this kind of flowery aspect which this one has. This tea is much more in kind of the wooden and the little bit more earthy flavor, but it lingers really on and on. So now I have it more so developing still in my palate with the third brewing of this tea. And also the water seems just a little bit more denser, minerally richer, much more different notes. I have a little bit of light wood, then have a little bit of sweet wood, then have a more of an earthy tone. So it plays around a lot in this area. while this one here goes from soapy and then directly a little bit to earthy. But there, let's see if there's a little bit like differences. Yeah, it's a little bit like dried wood. And now it gets pretty dry now in comparison also to the Bancha especially. It gets pretty dry. So it dries out my mouth. While here, I really don't have this aspect. But now I'm curious to see how the first brewing would have been. So that is brewing number 3. So already with number 3, I must say, here I have more complexity, even of the same flavor profile, but in this flavor profile I have a little bit of differences. Here I got the soapy, then I have the earthy, and the earthy goes then over a little bit into a dry mouthfeel. So all in all, I must say, still here much more complexity, even if it's the third brewing, but you are getting to this third one even with the same tea. So now I'm curious how the first one is. Okay, so the tea definitely loses a little bit in complexity from brewing to brewing, the Bancha as well. So here with the Bancha, I have a little bit of this wooden note, and they're playing a little bit around from dry to sweet wood, a little bit the earthy tone. Here it's completely kind of not different, but it's much more enhanced, and all these different tones are much more visible or much more feelable also in terms of taste. You're coming from a more earthy flavor, which you have in the beginning as well, but then it goes over to a slight roasted, and then a sweet flavor kicks in the middle, and in the end I have this earthy and wooden flavor coming back. And a little bit of a toasty flavor as well. So it's slightly, even it seems that it's slightly toasted, but coming from a little bit of the thicker and the stems also, and sometimes the wooden parts, which are in the Bancha and sometimes even present in the tea, which gives it really this special character of earthy, a little bit of wooden flavor profile. So what you have is you really go through different taste aspects with the same tea, and here I would need to retake another tea bag, because it's one tea bag for one steeping. But let's try and be really sure about this. And just try to reuse the tea bag. So let's try again. Still have some water left, so I guess we just give it a rinse, or kind of a small bath. It seems to still have a little bit of flavor, maybe a little bit. What I realized when I did the other day twice the same tea bag, so not of this brand but of another brand, I realized that a little bit the soapy flavor went away. So we have it in more or less the same amount of time than the Bancha. Okay, just squeeze it and put it down. Okay, I still have the soapy in my soapy flowery. Okay, it still got some flavor, so it's not as bad as the other day I had with another one. So this one here has quite some flavor. So with the second brewing, so we are getting close. So these teas then, or with the third brewing, goes very, very close. Maybe I'll drink up this one here. It's very, very, so really roasted, like when you do toast and you eat it. It's like Zwieback. So, give this one here, last one. Now I'm also done with the water. So let's see if this on number 4. And here you can see as well, still a very, very nice color. What is nice about Bancha, what I realize, is it loses a little bit in strength in its taste over time, but it develops kind of a sweet smoothness over the next brewings, up to 6 brewings. So let's have a look how the taste difference is. So I got this flowery taste, which is still dominant, and then the wooden flavor has gone out, so wooden flavor doesn't exist anymore, and there's a little bit this dryness kicking in. So it goes from flowery to dry. Let's have a look here. It really has this sweet note now, and it's kind of, it's really, when I drink this tea, it's just that the water has somehow a consistency, more of a density, which this tea definitely doesn't have. So it kind of seems that a little bit this essential oil make it like a little bit creamier, like a little bit kind of smoother, the water, and still you have a lot of taste aspects, and it's not dry at all. It really has this wooden note, and it goes over into kind of sweet wood note. As I said before, you can even go up to 6. Depends what you're looking for. When you really want a strong tea, this tea slowly starts to fade out. Like this one here, it has very, very little taste. But I would say with the tea bag, definitely one is good. The second one has just a little hint of this flowery note, but nothing else. And here now I already did 4 cups with the Bancha, and the Bancha still shows different flavor profiles. And what is important, especially about doing loose leaf tea, there's one major advantage, and this is actually you can share the tea with somebody of your loved ones. Well, the tea bag, as you can only do one steeping with it, it's for your individual consumption. So a major advantage, additional advantage of loose leaf tea, and it is at the same price or even cheaper than a tea bag. So I think today we can say no more tea bags. Go for loose leaf tea. If you want to go for tea bags, I understand if you say I want to have something convenient and I don't want the kyusu and I don't want to prepare it like this. This I understand. On the other hand, there's no other reason to not try out even like a lower quality loose leaf tea, because they are just having more taste and they're having a stronger flavor profile of the tea. So this is it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.